Hello, welcome to What the Flick. We are all here. We hope you are here as well. My name
We're
is
not
Christy.
all.
We're all. Oh yeah, Ben sometimes shows up too.
Remember Ben?
Ben has a job. All right, my name is Christy. That's
We all have
Alonzo.
jobs.
I'm not sure I do.
He has a job that involves travel.
On cruise ships. All right, my name is Christy Lemire. That's Alonzo Duraldi. That's Matt Atchity. That youngin' over at the end of the table is Matt Atchity. The aliens are coming. Do they want good things from us? Do they want bad things from us? We're going to find out. Matt's going to describe Arrival.
Arrival, yes. So Arrival is the story of a woman played by Amy Adams who is a linguist who gets tapped by the military in a alien first contact situation. Aliens have come to Earth in various spaceships and they need a linguist to figure out how to talk to them. And how do you talk to an alien that you can't necessarily see or interact with? And it's all very interesting. It becomes a very interesting piece about learning language and what language does to the way we think. Let's watch a clip.
Not everyone is wired for what you're about to do.
So what do they look like?
You'll see soon enough.
Every 18 hours, a door opens up. That's where we go in. It's done.
Yeah, that just happened.
What happens now?
They arrive.
They need to see me.
Dr. Banks?
Are you insane?
Now that's a proper introduction.
If I could talk to the aliens,
I was gonna say.
every one of
All
them.
right, I'm gonna go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just gonna cut in and go first. I love this movie. Now, I will say, I read the short story that this is based on.
Okay.
So I think that I may have gotten a little bit more out of it. But I think that this is a really, really smart movie. I think that the trailers are doing a disservice to this in that they're making it look like this tense thriller, and that's not what this movie is.
It's not. It's very restrained.
This movie is maybe a little bit closer in kind of almost in the subject matter it's covering to something like Contact, but I think this is a much, much better movie than Contact.
Yes.
I like this movie a lot.
I'm more impressed by the mood of it and the look of it and the texture of it than, I don't know. We're going to try really hard to talk about this without spoiling anything.
Right.
Because there's a bit of a narrative mindfuck that occurs here.
Which is one of my favorite things in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I sat with Robert Abley for this, and afterward I'm like, what did we just see? I'm not really sure I know. But I got to say, Bradford Young shot this. We like Bradford Young. He shot Ain't Them Body Saints and A Most Violent Year.
And Selma.
And he's this really wonderful young up-and-coming DP. And he's now working with Denis Villeneuve. And so I like the kind of ethereal, kind of mystifying look to this. There's like a warmth, but also a sense of mystery that he creates with the look of this. And I responded more to it from an aesthetic level than I did in any other way, I would say.
This was a movie that surprised me because, I saw it a few months ago, so I still haven't seen the trailers. I try to avoid those. But I don't know how they're selling this thing. But if you're expecting like sort of your usual, tense alien encounter movie, it's a lot more cerebral than I thought it was going to be. And I think it actually works better on the cerebral level than on the emotional level. Although there is some stuff on the emotional level that's effective. You've got Amy Adams sort of being thrown into this bizarro situation and trying to figure it out alongside Jeremy Renner. And then there's, the military has their sort of agenda at play. And then there's this whole sort of notion of global politics and can everybody sort of stop rattling their sabers at each other long enough to figure out how to deal with the situation in the best way possible. And this is a movie that I think I admire and respect more than I love.
I'm there with you too. People love it. People are like, oh my God, life-changing movie, Arrival.
But I do admire and respect it though. And I think it does a lot of things right. I think it raises a lot of interesting issues. And I think it's more interesting in the questions that it asks than in the story that it tells.
Well, it's interesting is that for a long time it feels very mournful, right? There's a sadness, like a lingering kind of melancholy and a sadness, but then ultimately there's hope, the possibility of communication and connection when it seems lost.
But that sadness, I think, is definitely relevant there, based on the way the story goes. I think this is a terrific film. And again, I have read the story that it comes from, so I kind of knew where it was going and was more watching the journey rather than waiting for kind of the stinger in it.
So then because you had read it, could you allow yourself to be as engrossed in the what if of it all?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, what's the story called?
I can't remember off the top of my
Okay.
head, but look it up on
But it's
Wikipedia.
really good.
Yeah, it's a short story. It's about 6 or 7 pages long.
Okay.
It's a very short
I don't know how they do it on page, but the way that they manifest the alien language is really interesting and different from anything I've seen in a movie before, as far as like, because it's the thing, the movie of Sphere is terrible, but the book is pretty interesting, and they talk about how, like, this notion of why would we be able to necessarily talk to aliens? We can't even talk to dolphins, and so what if, like, it's and this is that similar thing where, like, their method of communication is so completely different than ours and so seemingly inscrutable, but the way that they parse out what Amy Adams does and what her thought processes are and how she figures it out is fascinating.
Yeah.
I love a movie about people doing their jobs when I don't know what those jobs are, and that kind of puts me in their head. That part I love.
Yeah, and it's so different from most alien invasion movies. Like, it's not heart pounding. It's not War of the Worlds. It's not Close Encounters. It's not making you fearful. It's not stressful. It's like,
I mean, there's a little bit of that.
Is there?
There's
a little bit, but it's
moments.
almost more from our end. It's more like what are the Chinese going to do, and what are these other armies going to do more than what the aliens are going to do?
And I'm going to try and say this as obliquely as I can, but this is a movie that gets into the minutia of how, look, like, if you study any bit of psychology and kind of early development, like, language shapes thought, right? Like, your brain gets wired based on the language you learn as a kid, and as you learn other languages and start thinking in other languages, it may change how you think. And this movie really gets into that. And that's what I think is really cool, is that it's presenting the idea of how language affects thought. And I think, is that very cerebral? Yeah, I think the emotion's there. I love this movie. I think this is one of the smartest movies that I've seen all year, and I really hope people enjoy it. Now, again, I strongly recommend looking up, I can't remember the name of the story.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up so we're not all...
The name of the story is really good. I think it's Jeff Chang, I think is the writer. Anyway, it's a terrific story, and go ahead and see the movie, and then read the story afterwards if you feel lost.
Yeah, I think the movie's pretty.
There's bugs in
it. There's like a fly flying around.
The movie is pretty straightforward, though. I mean, and you're right. It is stunning to look at. I think the performances.
Story of your life.
Yes.
Ted Chang. Sorry.
I think no, it's fine. I think the performances are really good. There's a lot going on here, and I mostly respond to it. There were a few parts that I thought it didn't quite nail what it was going after. But one thing I do like is, and I always appreciate a movie that makes me think it's going to do something stupid, and then it turns out it's going to be something really smart. And there was at least one part where I was like, I didn't see that coming, movie. Well done.
Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner are both very good in this, as they are very good in everything. And she's got 2 movies back to back, which are very worth seeing. This and Nocturnal Animals, which we will see. We'll talk about next week, which I love.
This is the first of 2 movies with Amy Adams living in a beautiful house and reading things.
Oh yeah, with lots of glass. Yeah, floor-to-ceiling glass.
Because we're going to see that in Nocturnal Animals too.
True.
I love that movie
She knows how to pick an architect.
All right, so what are our numbers then? Matt, you loved it.
I loved it. I give it a 9.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. A 7.5. I think it's a solid movie. People should absolutely see it. And I'm not going to go as far as, like, where I was saying see Doctor Strange in 3D, but see this one on the big screen because it really is gorgeous, and you do kind of get enveloped in the narrative sweep of this story that is taking place on a global scale.
Yes, very striking minimalist imagery going on here. I'm very close to Alonzo. I'm saying 7.3, so our average is 7.9.
And it is
really high.
96% on the tomato meter.
And it's wide this week, yes?
And it opens wide.
Go see it.